Yeah, namaste. The show should be called at the top, but I forget the name of the show, so I'll do it in the middle. In the meantime, Manisha Pande is on standby, journalist, a comedian, I believe as well. She may argue the point with me. I don't know. People look down on this entire factory. However, before that, I want to just discuss Women's Day because today is Women's Day. I asked my mom, what do you think about Women's Day? And she said, which idiot left the window open in the hall? So, not everybody into it, but the main point is I don't understand this cliche about Manisha. Please join in immediately about this. Where women say, every day should be Women's Day. I think that's wrong. How can you dare say that? What happens to all the other days then? We can't fit it in the calendar. What do you do about Mother's Day and Father's
I'm a
Day and
big
Chocolate Day?
believer of days. So I really take birthdays seriously. I take Valentine's Day very seriously. I take anniversaries seriously. I take Women's Day seriously also. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think every day is every day, kind of
Superb.
thing. I do
That's
think there has to be a day,
a day I'm giving you. I'm even okay with maybe two
a
days.
particular thing.
2 days also I'm okay with if you
One
want.
day, once a
Wha-
day,
I say
one day a
one.
year.
But for the aggressive lobby out there, I said I'm willing to back down for two. But they can't take every day. Every day is Women's Day. What are we left with? I mean, the
So,
toffee day,
we
for
need
example,
one.
is a very big one in my family. That'll be just wiped out. All the vendors and lobbies who are looking for their day, what do they do with their day? Silvery, our producer, has a beard day apparently, and there was a beard day, but there is a beard day, and that's
Weird
for
day.
beard for men and women, by the way. Manisha, this is not a restricted thing. Um, okay, that's the standard of the show, Manisha. Don't worry about it. It's never going to get any better. So if you want to drink, this is a good time to start. I do apologize. For my stupidity in the beginning, so that you don't attack me later. But this whole show is supposed to be a celebration of you. And since it's Women's Day, it has to be absolutely. I'm changing the background as we speak. Manisha Pande, pesh karte hai the voice, the power, the affluence, the influence, the confluence. So we
Did
look at
you invite me mostly because you needed a woman on Women's Day? Is that
100%.
it? Or mostly, no?
Okay, yeah, can I be honest?
Which is why we need Women's Day.
No, see, I have no power.
That's
I have no power. I'm like any news journalist except for Arnab. So what happens is that Silvery, our producer, and Amit, our boss, they decide the lineup. I didn't even know about Women's Day till they told me, to be honest. And then they decided that they're going to have not only you, but the whole week should have women on it for some reason.
nice.
These
Nice.
two men are both unmarried and have no idea about women. Let me tell you. But I can't argue the point. So this is if I talk too much and you want to interrupt, please interrupt because this is a celebration of you, especially this week and today. So we'll start at Women's Day. You said it means something to you. What is this International Women's Day? Is that important that we say international because it becomes really long to wish someone?
I think Women's Day is just fine. Happy Women's Day is fine. International is okay. It's everything is international now these days. It's
Or
fine.
should we have a separate Desi Women's Day and a separate International Women's Day? Hence, there'll be no clash.
2 days here, not bad. That'll go with your
Yeah,
scheme of things.
it'll be like in cricket or football terms, home and away. So we have an away series where International Women's Day, and then we have a home series which is just us. The final can be in the Narendra Modi Stadium.
I'm
What?
fine as long as there's days, but let's not overdo it. I think one day is good enough. Like
Okay,
I
you've
said.
you've lost interest in my stupidity. I will move on. So Manisha, we'll start with your career. Which shall we go in order because that's easier? Or do you want to start with Newslaundry and Nuisance?
We
Nuisance.
can start in order if you want. So I decided to become a journalist after graduating. I thought I'll be a journalist because I love writing, and writing is
Which
what
where were you? Which college?
I was in Chandigarh. I did my college from Chandigarh. Then I
Which
dropped
sector?
Sector 36,
मैं लिखता हूँ
near
मैं लिखता
MCM,
हूँ मैं लिखता हूँ I'm fine googling it right now. हाँ.
a popular haunt for all the Chandigarh boys in their car. You know the Gedi route thing,
KD,
right?
of course, bhai, they introduced that to me in the 90s. I was so happy. I said, why didn't we think about this in Mumbai? We have no action there either. Makes sense.
So
Huh.
36 is a prominent stopover in the Gedi route
Oh, is it?
because it's a girls' college also. MCM DAV is
So
a
it's a
girls'
highlight on the Gedi route. Huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know. Huh.
So and then so when I decided to do this, and I only wanted to be a journalist because I thought I want to be a writer and I'll write and all that. And then I spoke to one of my cousins who was a journalist, and he told me that listen, there are two things. There are two types of careers. One career line where you have a lot of time, but you'll have no money. So your 9 to 5 kind of a job where you're free after 5, you'll get your weekends, but you won't make a lot of money. And then there's the other corporate route where you're working 24/7. You'll make a lot of money, but you'll have no time to spend that money. Journalism is the third where you'll have none. You'll neither have the time nor you'll have the money. So
Nicely put. Yeah.
think before you do this, and it's very true. Anyone who's watching this and who wants to be a journalist should know that there will be no money and there will be no time. But anyway, I still
But even in electronic medium and internet medium now, don't you guys? I heard that Newslaundry is like over 1,500 crores now.
पैसे में खेल रहे हैं. No, but
They,
it's
they
still,
are, they're going to change it to money laundry, from what I gather. No.
that's what Arnab keeps saying, no? That's why when he wants to attack Newslaundry on Republic, he goes, these money launderers, these launderers. Anyway,
How
that's
do
what.
we take his name? We were just talking about journalism, and how did that
Yeah,
appear out of the
got it.
blue? Huh?
Anyway,
Sorry.
long and short of it, I did become a journalist. I was in IIMC Dhenkanal in Odisha for 1 year. That's the
Wow.
Indian Institute of Mass Communication. Back then, there were two Indian Institutes of Mass Communication, one in Delhi, one in Odisha. I went to the one in Odisha. And then I got picked up from the campus by Business Standard, which is a financial daily.
Of course.
And I was on the op-ed there. I used to edit the op-ed pages. And then I moved to DNA, which used to be a very flourishing Mumbai-based newspaper.
Yeah. Owned by
Shut
Z, no? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, Z.
Yeah. So big names.
Yeah, where I reported and I was part of the features team. And one of the things now, how Newslaundry happened was quite interesting, was because while I was a journalist, I was very bothered by the fact that media in India doesn't talk about itself. You know, we question politicians, we question bureaucrats, we question sports stars, Bollywood stars, everyone, even Aam Aadmi. But there's really no mechanism by which the media talks about itself, questions itself, asks questions of media barons, or even reports on what's happening within the industry. It's a very opaque industry. No one really knows what's happening. And that used to really bother me as a journalist. And back then, Newslaundry was among the very few websites that were talking about the media. And I really liked that because this was also around the slowdown time, right? So around 2008, after 2008, we were still, reeling under the effects of
That year has come back.
Yeah. Oh God, and it's worse than that.
In a way, yeah.
It's worse. So, there were a lot of layoffs, a lot of churn in the industry. So there would be headlines about layoffs in L&T, so and so many people laid off, downsized, right-sized also is a word that's used now. But
cutting the fat. I hate that one. Cutting the fat is terrible.
Cutting the flap, yeah.
Yeah.
But no one was talking about what was happening in the media. We had equal number of layouts. The media was in a bad shape financially. And of course, then 2014 happened where there was a very clear, I was in DNA when the 2014 general elections kicked off. And there was a very clear sort of a line taken by the paper that we're going to be pro-Modi, or we're not going to do.
They told you that? The editorial, in the meeting, they actually said words like that, or you just sort of know?
I was told promo. We're promo.
Promo?
Because my features team is kind of cooler. They wouldn't say like, Modi ji bahut wo hai or Modi. So I was actually told we are promo, and then the editor laughed. So I've done those stories also about Modi's sex appeal, how he's really liked by women. My byline in DNA.
So, on International Women's Day, a topic we must discuss. Yes. Go on further.
Quoting Shobha Day in the article. What do you think about Modi's sex appeal? So yeah, that's the kind of work.
What did she say?
She said, I don't know who.
She's not a fan.
She's not a fan. So she said, I don't know who are these women who, think he's sexy. But maybe people.
So you tried to give a balanced viewpoint in spite of the fact that they were holding your jugular and saying.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried to. So anyway, so that kind of journalism was happening. And I thought that we needed to talk about what was happening within the media in terms of editorially, but also financially, where the industry was going. And I thought
I've got a little distracted for a second. Just let's segue. So who is the sexiest politician, according to Manisha Pande? Now that you brought it up. I never even thought about them like that, but now you've opened and now it's not going to shut. People listening are also going to think, sexy kaun hai, sexy kaun hai. Is there anyone? Yes, Indian, please. On International Women's Day, do not do this. Do not betray the Desi man.
Who's a sexy politician?
Oh, wow. It's going to be a hard one, is it?
Hard.
Okay, fair enough. Let's leave that.
I can't look at them in any...
Okay, don't do that. Don't spoil your day. Let's talk about the fact that you have no relation to Mangal Pandey.
Just to go back on that Modi thing, the actual story idea was that around 2014, so Modi had this image, obviously, that, RSS guys like him and he's like the Bajrang Dal guys like him. But I had noticed that within conversations in my own family or with friends and all, he was really loved by ordinary middle class women too. They really liked listening to him and they really liked, to see him, watch him and hear what he had to say. So my suggestion was that we explore the fact that he's also the women voters who really like him. I think the editor just heard housewife. And I think then it went into, housewife, sexy, Modi sexy. So
but is it a true graph? Demograph. I mean, how can you get this research that housewives like him? I
Can't.
mean,
I mean, our idea was to obviously just look at how the women voters are reacting to it, but I think his brain went to another direction, and then it just became about how Modi is sexy and how even the housewives love him, whatever. So
but look at the way things have been spun. That a good-looking guy like Rahul Gandhi, conventionally good-looking guy as he was, gets hit out of the park by this guy, who's not conventionally known to be, Dino Moria or John Abraham or whoever the guy is today.
it's the 56 inch ki chhati thing that I think really, but it's true.
Ooh.
It's true. No one could today look at Rahul Gandhi, and even though he's conventionally good looking, like you said, he wouldn't fall in that because that Pappu thing has really
Yeah,
stuck
it's
with us.
just that's what it's amazing how they've been able to spin that. Speaking of
Yeah.
the power of the media or rather internet, which now you own, oh, amazing. All right, let's get back to your story. This is your story. So you now join DNA, and you're learning that things are not as
Yeah.
independent as you think. Then,
And so, yeah, so I'd always wanted to talk about the media, write about ourselves. And Newslaundry was a portal that I was following. I really liked the kind of stuff they did, and especially the questions that they asked of us as a fraternity. So I just went in, I gave an interview when they hired me, and then I joined them in 2014 July, and I've been with them for a while now. I think 6 years it's been now.
so
And
Manisha, but basically you're saying that News Laundry was introspective and looking inside and looking at the media, looking at perspectives that you'd never heard of before, and
news ka laundry, na, basically, news ki
literally,
dhai.
yeah,
Literally, that's
exactly.
it, yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is, so that appealed to you because basically you've been trying to work. Let's leave the business standard aside because that's a little bit more on the neutral side. But you're trying to work in mainstream media, and you feel that your wings are clipped,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, exactly. I felt that there wasn't enough uh, freedom. But beyond that, I really strongly felt that I found it very bizarre that newspapers just ignore this one huge industry, which is the media industry, and never talk about it. It's very unlike what you have in the West, right? Like a New York Times will talk about the Washington Post, or
yeah,
Washington Post will do a story about what's happening in the New York Times, or BuzzFeed will do a story about what's
yeah. They sort
happening
of,
in
you're
the
right. They're more accountable in that sense and
Yes.
out there in the public eye.
Yeah, and if someone gets a story wrong, there will be so many opinion pieces, editorials, reported pieces on a newspaper getting a story wrong.
Yeah.
And
So
there's a lot of questioning of the media which we completely lack. And
lack. We had a WhatsApp case right now with a senior journalist from an electronic media company which rhymes with for public. And let me tell you, everybody was just shut down about it. We weren't allowed to put
yeah,
stories on. I wasn't allowed to put a story on. We were just told that it doesn't exist. Omerta, Sicilian for silence. Just it.
it's still much better now. So imagine, like, when I joined Newslaundry 2014, I would call editors to get a quote on a story that we were working on. Suppose layoffs in Hindustan Times, and I call them up to just give me a
I
number.
like the way you
We
took
will
on
not.
Hindustan Times.
So,
Nicely done. Yeah. Hmm.
so they would just bang the phone on us that we are not talking to you. Like, why do you think you can ask us questions? Why do you think we'll respond to you? So there was this complete lack of even a
But what is
feeling
the
of
fear of talking about layoffs? This is not a political issue. This is a
exactly. So that's what
industry issue. Why can't they
exactly.
talk?
Just that they're not used to answering questions. They're used to asking questions
So
of
what a
people who are
hypocrisy. You're saying
answering.
that our fourth estate has the power to look at other people and other things and explore everything, but will not. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's very hypocritical.
Which really bothered me, right? So which is why and now it's much better. I think a lot of people now are starting to talk
I'm
about
going to quit.
social media.
You've opened my eyes. I've spent 15 years in a TV channel where I have no idea that this is what's going on. I'm going to quit for sure. Manisha, you've done your work. You've done your work. See, there's a problem with you. You've got too much integrity. You spoil the market. We're all going along fine now. We have started questioning our own integrity and our self-esteem, if there is such a concept.
No, but
Huh.
I think it's much better now. And I think News Laundry has been one of the reasons why it's really changed. And then, of course, now you have a lot of digital websites that are also reporting on the media. So via scroll, print, we'd often talk about what's
Some of them
happening.
are on their last legs.
Yeah. And even
Yeah.
even mainstream media now is kind of opening up to the idea that, okay, we can't now ignore and not talk about what's happening within our own industry. So,
But there's also one argument here for a second, Manisha, if you don't mind. I'm
yeah.
calling you Manisha every 3 seconds for some reason, which is a sign of fear. Um, no, I was just thinking that sometimes you also use this as an excuse when you're doing comedy or even when you're doing normal so-called introspective journalism, whatever you want to call it. That you've got to deal with what is instead of complaining that we can't talk. You know what I'm saying? You just have to be more innovative, more creative, find ways to make your point, try and criticize through layers of writing or thinking or talking or whatever. Maybe sometimes you need to be more positive about that instead of just saying, this is it. They won't let us talk, muzzle the press, or the press itself won't look inwards. So I'm just asking as a
Oh, fair
question.
enough for people who are working in these big organizations, and they do. It's not that it's not happening. There's good journalism happening across organizations, and there are people who find their way to slip in that report or present a picture which is more than what maybe they're asked to do. And I'd say this even for a lot of organizations. But our mandate is more not just to talk about censorship or stuff like that, but also just talk about the industry as a whole, the financial health, the editorial direction, the churnings, the buying, who's buying what, who's investing in what. So also because I think one thing that news consumers in India need to know more and more about is who owns their media, because the news that you often get uh, may serve the purpose of the investors or the people who are advertising with it or the people who own it. So I think that transparency is also quite important for news consumers, and that's also something that we talk about. So it's not
No, no,
you're
I think you made a very you
people
made a
who,
sorry. Go on.
no, I'm saying that you're right, that people who work in big media organizations, there's always a way to put out your stories and do good work.
No, I just say that I'm talking this more from the comedy point of view, where people sometimes just claim, "Oh, we can't say anything, we can't do anything." I'm just thinking, going back to Soviet Union or wherever there's been so-called oppressive regimes, people manage to get their point across. Whether they're satirists or journalists or whoever the hell
Yeah.
they are, they do. They just have to figure out a way. I just feel that the idea is to get the point across and not the idea to accept defeat, which just shows the philosophy of the person doing the thing more than anything else. But I think your whole point also is well made about the Latin phrase is what? Physicato hilete thyself. Physician, heal thyself. I may be wrong. I don't know Latin.
I was actually listening to hai, which is
Yeah.
a Latin.
Yeah, but isn't that the whole idea that every lobby has to look inwards as well? Otherwise, how can
Yeah,
they stand up? They've
yeah,
got no
yeah.
spine to stand up without that. So I think you're spot on that. I think we should discuss this in detail
I mean, the
later on.
comedy bit, like I do think like cases like Munawar Faruqi's,
There you go.
there you do, it does jolt you and you do feel scared. But I do think those of us who can push should push and shouldn't be too cynical, because frankly with us, I mean, we don't do really comedy. I mean, comedy I think is a high art form. Wit, sarcasm, satire is just, I think it's an art.
It's
And
practiced in Bangladesh and Pakistan, not so much here. Yeah.
yeah, but which we don't do. I mean, we critique and we try and use humor sometimes. But yeah, what I'm saying exactly, like if you look at what people are doing in Pakistan, I think it's way more courageous of them. I think we are still not there yet.
Yeah.
There are terrible cases, but then a lot of us are able to push. And
Also, if you want to support a Munawar Faruqi thing, there's no point in going silent. You've got
yeah,
to figure out a way to
exactly.
talk where
Those
you
of us who can speak for him and can continue to
yeah.
do the work that we do.
Yeah. Although I find his dressing to be hideous. They could have arrested him on that alone. But maybe we'll discuss that when I meet
I didn't
him.
really notice that. Okay.
But you discuss sexy politicians, you won't discuss sexy comedians. I thought it's all sexy show. Happy Women's Day, International Women's Day. Desi Day is separate. So now let's talk a little bit about your main show here. You're the executive editor, by the way, huh? Newslaundry. So you're not some small fry. कितना
No.
पैसा बनाते हैं?
ठीक
कम से
ठाक
कम?
बना लेती हूँ अब 10 साल बाद, मतलब ठीक
Huh?
है.
Do you use Paytm, ma'am?
No, I don't use Paytm.
All right. So
But I
tell,
बना लेती हूँ, ठीक ठाक बना
yeah,
लेती हूँ.
lots of interesting things there, which hopefully we can fit in fast. First, let's talk about TV Newsance,
Yes,
which is
it's
a
supposed to be
Dali
a
accent.
play on news and nuisance.
Yeah,
Hence nuisance.
Newsance. You want to tell us a little bit about the show?
Yes, so it's supposed to be a weekly wrap of all the insanity you watch on television news, all the stuff that's being passed off as news but is not news. So a little bit of background: we've been critiquing television media for a very long time, and I had been personally watching a lot of television media and writing about it. And there came a point where we thought, okay, we can't keep saying the same thing again and again, and we can't keep critiquing them on the same thing again and again, and we're reaching no one. So we thought, let's just do a show. Let's just do it in their medium of a wrap of what happens through the week, all the crap that happens, all the funny things that happen, all the insanity that happens, and present it as a little like a 7-10 minute wrap. And that's how it started off. And yeah,
But tell me one thing: who irritates Manisha more, Arnab himself or the Arnab copies, which are so many, including the Hindi copies and maybe vernacular copies? I don't know.
Arnab copies, because
Yeah,
Arnab is and there's a reason why he's so watchable.
he is watchable. No, don't take that word back. He is watchable. We must give the devil his due.
No,
He's
he's
100% watchable. My mom watches him. There are too many people around me who watch him. He's got that power.
also because Cyrus, if you keep flipping the channels and you see his clones, people would rather see the original, na? Why do I want to see a pale copy of Arnab? I'd rather see the original guy.
That's what I didn't understand, why they would go out and create Ornobis in English and Hindi at least. Maybe I think even we haven't studied the other states and all properly, but they're probably there in, in Bengali and in Tamil and as well.
I know Kannada channels, I've seen a few people who copy him, but yeah, Arnab copies are definitely way more irritating. And there's one who used to be he used to be in Times Now he's with CNN News 18, and Anand Narasimhan. If you close
My
your ears,
colleague, yeah,
close your eyes, and
yeah,
you just listen, it's literally like a young Arnab talking, the same pitch, the same voice.
yeah.
And yeah, but pales in comparison to the original. Obviously, everything will pale in comparison to the original. So
That's true. There will be only one Arnob,
there
followed by a long pause and thank God. No, just kidding. We are not taking on anybody here. Ours is a very soft show. We don't take sons. Centrist philosophy. But Manisha is also the winner of the Ramnath Goenka, what a name that was once, award for the best investigative reporting in 2016. Is that for one particular thing
yeah.
that you did, a project or
This
case?
was an RTI investigation along with Sandeep Pai, who's used to be a journalist and he stopped being a journalist now for good reason. But this was
Ooh, you're going to tell us that. What does that mean?
he had enough. I think most good journalists just
They can't
eventually.
take the
And
tension.
his forte was investigative journalism, so it's very hard to do that kind of work with mainstream
My
journalism.
actual aunt was the first female investigative journalist. I think on Women's Day we should discuss her. Olga
Who?
Tellis, back in the 60s. She
Oh,
fought for pavement dwellers. Olga Tellis. You can Google her.
hmm.
Fought for pavement dwellers. She also, I think, was like fought for the Punjab secessionist movement, for which my parents used to get into fights with everyone because that caused, as you can well imagine, a lot of divides. Uh,
Hmm.
we'll come to that some other day.
So, yeah, so in fact, this story was something that he had been working on in Hindustan Times and it got killed there. And then it came to, he was a friend and he
It
came
got
to,
killed, as in they refused to let him
yeah.
pursue it.
So,
Once again.
journalists have this. I know one investigative journalist who has a folder called Mortuary in his inbox, which
Hmm.
is where all the dead stories go.
Wow.
All the stories killed in the organization go there. So, yeah, so that happens routinely. But anyway, and then we worked on that together. This was an RTI investigation where we looked at how ministers, MLAs, politicians were misusing public money for self promotion. So that's the.
Hope that includes those bloody billboards. I can't bear the happy birthday billboards in Mumbai. I don't know what it's like in Delhi, but in Mumbai, it's just so irritating. You see this guy who looks very much like a career criminal with 5 goons standing behind him, all very too close, obviously, because it's been photoshopped. And then, they're wishing him on his 63rd birthday, for which, you're thinking, why is he still alive? I mean, oh, what?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
public money that's being wasted on this. So, yeah, that was the story.
I grew up with like Milind Soman and all on the hoardings, and now it's these guys everywhere. I mean, it's just very painful. So did you get in trouble with that one? Because
No,
you're
we didn't.
taking,
It was it was based on an RTIs. So, very hard to get into trouble when you have a RTI
but
document to back up your
but they
story.
can come back to you in other ways, no, not immediately and
We gave
call
them,
up your.
and it was also across party lines. So it wasn't just the BJP or just the
But you had
Congress.
to sit and balance it. Secularism of corruption.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I mean, it was across party lines, and we gave everyone ample time to respond to our questions that we had with them. So it was a very solid, watertight story. So no
So did they
trouble.
respond?
They didn't. They didn't.
Because we have a story in the morning paper, at least in Mumbai, about a Bhandu operator and a BMC official who's been given a certificate and a shawl and a coconut as a sarcastic thank you from the people for not completing the road project on time. He's way behind, and 7 lakh people are suffering because of that. And this is a story of, I think, all India. I don't think this is restricted to Mumbai. So I think that was quite talking about RTI and citizen activism and all that. It was quite interesting. They've gone and they created little the Mela happened, like a Barat happened, and all of them went there and they they put the thing on him. And I mean, it reminded me a bit of the Flop Show. I growing up in the 80s,
Yeah.
he would have these kind of episodes. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
This Palmati with his
yeah. Oh
you know,
wow, love
no
that guy.
emotion face, would just
No poker face king,
poker face,
nothing.
just say
Yeah,
ki- it was really funny.
yeah. I'm glad we've grown up watching at least some of the same things. Your clearly your career is more credible. You don't have to do puppet shows, standard chartered bank for rich women and 5-year-old children. That's the thing I do for survival. By the way, my friend, I have only one friend, Kunal Vijaykar, more follower than friend, is your huge fan, huh? Because I told him,
I love the week that wasn't also, by the way, and I love his
you
Navika
don't have to. You don't have to
impersonation.
say that. Why do you say that and spoil it? He likes you. I told him this girl is coming on, Manisha from Newslaundry. He said, I love that girl. She's the best thing on it. And this, that. He just started.
How sweet, please.
Yeah.
Thank
A
you.
huge fan, not small fan. He really likes you. So I think he's understood what good comedy or good journalism is finally. After 15 years of wasting my time playing Mayawati and looking, oh my God, actually looking worse. With due respect, lovely lady. Right. So before we go into the break, one more thing. What is this Ladli Media Award for gender reporting? Is that
So this was a project that we did in Newslaundry. Again, what we did was we looked at the top 4 newspapers. We looked at their front page, their op-eds, and the reporting, and we looked at how many women were writing for newspapers. So when we talk about why is the media not covering women's issues in a certain way, or
nice?
why are we not reporting, issues of
Gender
violence against
bias
women? Exactly.
starts at
So,
home.
yeah, and some of the statistics were pretty alarming. Like 10% on the front page of stories were written by women, and it's even starker with Hindi media, where you have very few women writing. So it was basically an exercise to understand who's shaping your news.
So they're talking about gender
Mostly men.
discrimination in the paper and in the practice of the paper. Once again, this seems to be your thing, huh?
Yeah.
Exposing the underbelly of hypocrisy.
Yes.
It really gets to you. Wow, I didn't even think about this. This is another interesting point you've brought to mind. So we're reading all these things about Women's Day, and probably this entire paper is about 90% run by males. Who,
Run by males, uppercast men, and again, I think with women it's still becoming better, but I think where we really lack is caste representation.
that's a huge point you're
That's,
making. Huh? You're telling me that basically media is controlled by, say, the higher castes, by males from the higher caste. So literally like a mafia that runs mostly, at least English and Hindi. We can't speak for everyone, but English and Hindi media.
yeah, which is why, like, when you look at when do we beyond a horrific event, you have a horrible rape case somewhere, or you have a horrible case of domestic violence. That's all. So we just report the incident. We never really look at, what's really shaping the incident, and that's also because when it's mostly men governing your product, you're not going to have those concerns reflect well on your news pages. Or then you'll also have these reports being reported in a very crass way sometimes. Like I remember this Times of India report once on a rape case that had happened in Hoskas village, where the report made it a point to sort of say that the woman was pub hopping. She went from one bar to the other before it. She was fiddling on her iPhone, and what she was wearing or how dark it was where she was walking. So this kind of reporting would not happen if you have women leading your newsrooms, or have enough women in the newsrooms to point out and say, hey, it's none of our business to say whether she was pub hopping or not. I mean, it's immaterial to the crime. That's not even the scene of crime. I understand if you're giving it as information on,
Well, we have apparently off the record, we have a chief justice or a justice at least who claimed that maybe the rapist should marry, the rapee should marry the rapist. It's a famous case. Yeah.
So,
So
so
I mean,
that was what that project was about, to really look at who's shaping your news. And
okay, I thought it was like a flippant award when I saw Ladli. I thought it was like one of these banana awards or Kela awards or Ganta awards, but obviously it's quite the opposite. Oh, that's a very interesting story, huh, Manisha? I must tell you, you've totally opened my eyes. I never thought of this perspective that the entire media is run by males, upper caste males. And I think you're bang on about this as well. And that really means that there's no way it'll be balanced reporting. Forget just about women bias, but about everything, because it comes from just one type of person talking from their perspective, and it'll always be the same. So we need some churning to happen in this country. Beta, कौन करेगा churning? करना पड़ेगा ऊपर से नीचे तक. It has to come from politics down to the McDonald worker who is now actually earning more than me. Manisha, before we go into a break, just one quick question. I tried to ask you, I don't think you heard me. Are you related to Mangal Pande at all?
No, I'm not.
100%? No Meerut connection, nothing?
No. I'm
Just
from
check, no?
Uttarakhand.
Doesn't matter from mother side, father side. We are all Indians. As the fly attacks your nose, do not worry. It's a male fly. Female flies will never behave this badly. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with Manisha. We also have Silvery, award-winning journalist from our side, joining us.
Woohoo.
He'll be on in a sec because our breaks are very short. What an interesting point you have opened. Never ever thought of it that way. Less than 10%. Can you tell me the 4 newspapers are?
So we did Hindu, Indian Express, Times of India, and Hindustan Times. The worst was Hindustan Times, I think.
So
Hindu did fairly okay, I think 30%. But there were times when they were like 9%, 10% women writers. And then again, beats like national security, defense. So why do you think like television news is the way it is. It's just men, testosterone high,
Except for that Navika Kumar, but she's more manly than me.
She also have mostly men on her panel, just talking about war and maar do or Pakistan ko ye kar do, wo kar do. It's just again like no women
All these people who want to go to war should be sent there themselves, really, to understand. We're joined by Silvery, 16-year-old producer of the show, who himself is a huge fan of women, although he used to say woman for plural also. But Punjabi hai na, hota. Silvery, bolo sir.
Hey guys. Yeah. So let's
it's
get
Women's Day. Yeah, I think you need to push in as many. Sorry.
Happy Women's Day. Happy Women's Day, firstly, everyone. So a couple of things. Please like this.
Did you wish your mom?
I did. Last night.
What did she say?
Already. See, I'm a good boy.
What did she say?
She said, thank you. What else? And she kissed me and all. Like whatever. Nice
Itna? Wow.
Yeah, dude,
she's so proud.
My mother likes me, Cyrus.
Mine literally said, why is the hall window open? That was the jawab. That's it. I said, okay, forget it, man. Because we have work going on and these guys are crawling away. The construction workers, we had a robbery in the office. So my family is paranoid about people coming in. Okay, AMAs.
All right, let's go. Some great comments from Manisha also. Blind Eye says, hi Manisha, Newslaundry. And I'm a Newslaundry and IVM subscriber. Blind Eye says, Cyrus calls the same thing. Another NL subscriber. Really enjoy Nuisance. Pay to keep media free. Thanks, Suraj.
Yes,
you should.
Yes, pay to keep news free.
There are plenty more Newslaundry fans. They're all delighted to see Manisha here. The first question comes in from Abhik Ghosh. He says, Happy Women's Day. Manisha, do you ever come across members of the RSS or Navika or Arnab at social gatherings by any chance? Has it ever been awkward?
Why would she be at a... Okay, go on.
Has it ever been awkward? And P.S. Karare Chane is the funniest thing I have ever seen.
Good question.
So I think by RSS he means Rahul Shiv Shankar, no? Because we call it Rahul Shiv Shankar.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But you may forget parties. You may meet them at an airport in the old days before lockdown. There are places where you would bump into them. What would happen then?
So I did. I'm very scared of actually bumping into the people that we make fun of because it's a bit awkward, no? Like I don't know. I'm not that mean in real life. And I can't really go and make fun of them. And it's not personal.
But you can't say that because you've said whatever you've said. So you can't say, look, actually, I'm not like that.
No, but the thing is, it's not personal. Like we make fun of their work and what they're doing on television news. So it could be a bit awkward. So I think I almost could have bumped into RSS, Rahul Shiv Shankar at Manu Joseph's book launch. Thankfully, I was leaving and he was just going in. So I just like...
What was RSS doing at Manu Joseph's book launch? And Manu is as left as you can get.
Delhi mein sab chalta hai. Book launch.
A lot of people with Shiv Shankar surnames in Delhi. Maybe he got the wrong guy. Just walked in. So did he talk to you or you just ignored?
No, I was leaving and he was going. That's the only time.
But did you make eye contact? Was there like a bad body language moment? Sometimes they purposely ignore you. They do that if they don't like you.
I try and just not. Because also the thing is that I would ideally not want to threaten. Because also what happens sometimes is when you get to meet these people,
then you won't be able to do it again. You'll feel bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and you realize, okay, they are putting up an act for their shows and they're not really as horrible as they pretend to be on television.
Correct.
News. So you also kind of feel then next time it's tougher to make, because this happened with Deepak Chaurasia. He came to Newslaundry's office to be interviewed by Abhinandan. And he's a really nice guy off screen, yeah. I mean, we met him, we saw him, we were there.
But he knows what kind of interview he was coming for.
Of course he did. And he
came. Oh, yeah, so then you can't have, that's fine.
Abhinandan and Eve also worked together previously with Madhu when News Track was a thing.
Right.
So I guess they go back a long way. But then, the next time you meet him and you've like kind of greeted him and all, it's kind of tough to then go back to being harsh.
Actually, this reminds me of a story.
I try and not get to know them at all. I don't want to humanize them.
Milind Devra told us a story similarly, member of parliament when he was, that in Delhi, actually, you have no idea how people get along. And they don't get along because of anything else. They get along because they have shared likes, like the guys who play guitar and like rock music and all. From different parties, they hang at the back and talk about it. Those who like cricket, they are from different parties hang about, So actually, the parties aren't as divided as you think when you leave them alone. They actually get divided more like we would in a classroom. You divide about your likes and dislikes and passions for certain things. I wish that would be true in India. It would be just wonderful. We can all be friends and yet criticize. You know what I'm saying? So you and RSS could have a really good friendship, but you could go after him every weekend.
Yeah.
Well, what's the big deal?
It's not happening. But yeah. They sued us. I mean, they gave us a notice for 100 crores, so I don't really see a friendship.
Really? 100? Where do they get these figures from?
I don't know. But
Like if you abuse me, I wouldn't have the guts to
how
go
are they
over.
evaluating the 100 crore?
No, my point is, how would the defamation for yourself go to that level? I'd be like, I value myself at 3,45,000 with GST, and that's what I would sue you for. I don't think I just think 100 crores is just rubbish.
I think Arnab Republic sued Times Now for 100 crores. So Times is now just thinking, Sabko, like, how do we recover this?
100 crore. So
There's 100 crore to
the judge
everyone.
gets confused about which case he's doing also. 100 crore ka hai, wohi hai, same. All right, sorry. Next one, Silvery.
All right. Next one comes in from Karan M. He says, "Hi Manisha, do you think with the way the government wants to suppress the media, do you think even satirical journalism will be curbed too, since people don't take a joke as a joke anymore?"
So in my experience, it's been pretty cool for us. Yeah, we haven't, I mean, Newsance hasn't faced any kind of very hardcore backlash from. In fact, we also have a lot of people who vote for the BJP and watch and often comment that, I'm a bhakt and I like BJP, but I agree with what you're saying. Because our point is not really, you vote for who you want to vote. You praise Modi ji, you praise Rahul, you praise Mamta, whoever you want to. Our point is really about the media, what you should be expecting out of your news, whether you're getting that or not, and what you're being served as news on television. So a lot of people will agree with, I think most sane people see the point of what we're doing. It's really to question.
So it's layered sort of criticism because you're actually looking inwards at the media, and
yeah.
from there the second layer is on the politician or the businessman or whoever. Which is
it's not a direct kind of a commentary on politics.
Smart technique, I like it.
Yeah. But also, I think even if you're a BJP voter or a fan of Modi, it works in his favor to have a media that questions him.
It's not like everything he's done is wrong, everything he's done is bad. I mean, he has been a powerful leader. Let's just praise him for 30 seconds of the show stays. So I really like balance in life. I think people should be more balanced. Then when you're a little rabid, it makes sense. Otherwise, if you're just rabid, after some time, the point is just lost. You just go on barking into the wind after some time. And that's what happens from both sides, even the left, unfortunately. But that's my opinion. Next question, Mr. Silvery.
Yes. Next one comes in from Suraj Kaul. This is a good one. He says, "Why can't we hold the media accountable? Say, for instance, in cases like the SSR case."
Very good point. Manisha, the ball is in your court.
No, I mean, we really reported on that piece for 4 months, and it was stunning what happened in that case. I was paralyzed with what I was seeing because it wasn't even political. This was just out of the blue. And it had real life consequences.
He just made it up as he went along. He just made up the accusations. And my mother and Silvery's mother and all the mothers of India on Women's Day, let me tell you, because we argue this point with a lot of people. Oh, he's a murderer. Oh, he's murdered. Oh, they have proof. There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing to it. There was absolutely nothing to it. There were conspiracy theories being aired on. Anyone who had any conspiracy theory could come on air and could voice it, and that would become the story of the day. But it had real consequences in terms of what Riya Chakravarti had to
exactly
do. Whole family, the way they hounded her. I don't know if you guys saw the videos of journalists outside her house.
Horrible.
Just, like vultures attacking her. So I think the first thing is, so we have, of course, now Newslaundry reports on the media, but I think how do we hold the media accountable? Viewers have to stop being passive consumers. You have to stop just taking what you're getting. You need to question your media. Now there's so many ways. You don't have to write a dear editor letter to the newspaper. But you can actually tweet to a news organization, tweet to a journalist, tag them on Facebook.
You digital champions don't understand one thing, that television is still there, and his sway over the people is just fantastic because he wiped out the other news. During COVID, he wiped out everything, the other channels. They all started following his lead, and people are standing outside.
There's no argument with that. Television has a lot of reach, but digital has an equal reach now. People can, and it matters to Arnab he may not be on Twitter, but he obsessively tracks what's being said about him on Twitter. We know that from the leaked chats now. So you can make your voice heard. If you think a journalist is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, make yourself heard. Demand accountability from your media and stop watching crap. And also put your money into...
That's a huge ask. As someone who survived thanks to my crap, I got to tell you that's a huge ask. Sorry.
No, when an SSR kind of thing happens, just turn it off. Don't give
Manisha,
them your
we've discussed this on the podcast. You can ask Sylvie. Amit is not here right now. We've discussed this to death during lockdown. How is this guy hijacking a situation which is so tragic and serious? It just got pushed to the. I mean, how does the only country in the world? Tell me, did it happen in Poland that they found some small scandal and made more of it, blah blah blah, and wiped out the real news? It went on for 45 days like a blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
Was able to do that, and I would fight with my mother every single day because she kept saying it became like the Zamindar 80s story in a film, the big Zamindar destroying the small migrant who comes there. It went into all those angles and perspectives, so they got the support of the people.
And the worst part is that at the end of the day, an average person will just still think कि कुछ तो था.
That's what. Exactly that
thing planted. And that's the thing about conspiracy theories, right? Like once it's planted, you're just like, no one's ever gonna believe that there was nothing to it apart from a really
the doubt has been, you're right, the doubt has been put. That's exactly what happened. But it was like if you want to look at it from a devil's advocate point of view, it was like genius. It was unbelievable that they created a story which wasn't a story, and they just hijacked perhaps the most serious issue of the decade easily.
I always think about the flip side. Like, what if for 4 months they had properly discussed mental health and depression? It would have made a very positive difference to the country, to everyone who was following that news. It would have made a very positive difference.
But that didn't come out of it. That didn't come out of
it.
What came out of
they
it was a
forgot
scandal.
about the whole thing. Yeah.
The scandal
very sad.
Yeah, sorry.
But to the question that I was asked, I don't think we should be cynical or be too bogged down by what happens on television news and propaganda. I mean, I consume a lot of it and I know that it can be very overwhelming, but do realize that they're just doing it for the eyeballs, and viewers do have control. You can push back. It does matter to journalists what's being said about them. They are quite bothered about that. So,
but Manisha, there was no live spot. Otherwise, who the hell would have watched it? Now, no chance. You can't come up with all these small scandals. It's impossible. But that time was the worst time in my life. No live spot for 2 months. For someone with the attention span of a mosquito, I really suffered. Back to Manisha and the Women's Day. Is there no Women's Day question? I thought Women's Day. Kya ho gaya Women's Day ko? Sab bhul gaya.
These are all questions related to politics.
You're choosing them. Okay, fair enough.
No, they're all there. They're all. I'm not missing any question. I don't think.
Maybe they're following the trend of the conversation, and
yeah, I think that's it.
After 5 minutes of Women's Day ka darshan, we moved on. Yeah.
Rahul, Vivek Ravi says, shout out to Manisha. Been a Newslaundry Hafta fan since the Anand Ranganathan days.
Okay. It's a long time.
Yeah. The next one is Rahul. He says, Cyrus, big fan in my 40s now, which means you made my teen years entertaining in the 90s with MTV Bakra and your hosting.
Hey, I'm also only in my 40s. What the hell is this ageism nonsense? He's possibly older than me. Why is he watching MTV when he was like 30? What the hell?
All right. Next question comes in from Mahendra. He says, there are new ways the government is finding to bring in gag orders. Sometimes the existing law is twisted. Sometimes the judiciary is forced to break the law. And sometimes they bring in new laws. Should free speech supporters be petrified? Is this scary for free speech?
Don't be petrified. Fight back and use all the weapons that you have with you. I kind of agree with what Cyrus had said a few minutes ago, that we can't afford to right now be petrified or be bogged down or be too cynical. It's the time to fight, and it's just started. So I, for one, am not petrified.
I treat any draconian law, oppressor, or fascist policy or whatever like my marriage. Just keep saying sorry and then go on talking. I think that works. It's like it's double speak, but I think it works because they also need to know that you're not that bad. I think they really fear the ones who just go in one tangent. So I think try to mix it up. In cricketing terms, it would be you bowl the dusra, you bowl the flatter one, the one that comes in with the arm. But Silvery doesn't like cricket, so we won't discuss it. Okay. But Silvery, you comedians, young comedians, and your generation, the one that follows after that, not to critique them, but honestly, you can't sit back and just say, look, they won't let us speak, they're this, they're that. You just have to find ways to talk.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
Isn't that the right thinking?
Absolutely. You have to be able to make your point in a politically correct way also. And
you can't get disillusioned and say, it's impossible, I'll go back to, engineering, because there's some really bad engineers out there who should have been comedians.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
And a lot of people are doing it in India, right? At huge costs. So I think we are still very privileged. I think we should try a little less and try and push the boundaries.
If the government is listening, I think Newslaundry is far more aggressive and critical than, say, we are. So please go after them first. Let's have a whole list. We're the backroom boys, backbenchers. Sorry. Next.
Okay.
You have time?
Next
we have time.
Yeah. Next one comes in from Kashin Shetty. He asks, hi, Manisha. What, according to you, is the bigger failure for democracy? Oh, this is a fun question. This is a funny question. It says, hi, Manisha. What, according to you, is the bigger failure for democracy? Citizens losing their right to free speech or Uber hiking their surge prices? # speak freely or travel cheap. What do you think is a bigger crime in India? I think the surge prices, obviously. Damn Uber.
Surge prices, honestly, is like free speech being struck me because it makes no sense. I would think that, when the demand is more, they should give you, market dictates that they should be cheaper.
Cheaper, but they're not. Yeah.
What the hell sense does that make? So in that sense, they are satirical because, it's like sarcasm. Oh, we have 40 options now, so we'll charge you more. What the
I
hell?
think supply is also less. No, that's why. Because there are fewer Ubers also. So it's just an extra charge for
Yeah, but,
you getting
I,
the one Uber.
don't get me started with elitist problems. But elitist problems are also important, as we keep saying. People shouldn't just push them aside and say, "Oh, you want to talk about your parking issues or your Uber hike and all that." But that's my world. That's our world also. We can't just ignore them because it really destroys your mood from the morning. These small little things happen. Like I hate nakabandis. I just can't tell you. I just go into a flip when I see at 6 in the morning 12 cops very lazily standing there, and they just waste your time. What are they checking? Some kid going to play cricket with a big kit bag on a small scooter, which his father scraped together with his lower middle class earnings, and you're wasting his time. You can see he's going to play at nets. He's not a friggin' terrorist or a gangster. It's 6 in the bloody morning. People who come out at that time are generally going to do something. You use your common sense. They just waste your time. They've stopped the kid. I'm watching them just harass him for 5 minutes. What's the point? Silvery, do something about this police Nakamandi nonsense here.
But wait, you got Nakamandi at 6 a.m. in the morning?
6 a.m.
Yeah, that's oh, dude.
Sometimes they're still in the truck though.
Yeah.
So, but the barricades are up, but there's nobody to stop you. So I always put my lights on so I can try and wake them up and honk once. Yeah, what the hell? Take your job seriously. You want to waste our time, harass us. And like I said, they always, what I hate about communication in India is that they never speak nicely. They never say, "Good morning, sir. Kaise ho? Sorry, ye karna padega. Dikhao license, please." Or kuch. And, when they talk like that, I don't mind. But it's never like that. It's always like, license.
Yeah.
So the moment they talk to you like that, you feel like you're a criminal.
Yeah.
And then one part of your brain wants to shoot him, and then one day you'll end up doing that, and then people will say, "Why do you shoot him?" I've explained this, so keep all this.
Touchy topic.
Yeah, Manisha, don't talk to me about elitist pain. There is a lot of that. While you sit and break barriers for women and things like that, I will fight for Nakabandi to be removed. Go on.
Next
We have
one.
time? Yeah.
We have a couple more good questions. I think we should get to them. Next one comes in from Ajay C. He says, Manisha, how much more time before Abhinandan or you go to jail? Or does the Madhu Trehan connection help? The connection doesn't seem to help against the FIRs though.
Yeah, the FIRs are coming in. I don't think
Is that like a badge of honor?
Go to jail. I'm petrified of going to jail. Honestly, I'm someone who just says sorry. I'm very, very scared of jail. It's a nightmare. I don't know how people go to jail and then still, hats off to them. They'll stand their ground.
Yeah.
But you actually think that's a possibility that you might?
No,
because
I don't.
They'll find something to twist your words or something.
Other people really keep saying this, but I think we're being too paranoid. For us, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm doing anything which is so detrimental to someone in power right now.
And they really get it personal. It's basically looking at policies and things like that. If you're looking at gender bias, for example, there's nothing personal in it. You look and you find a figure which says 90% are men. You're pointing that out. Why should anyone take it personally?
Even with Newsance, we're pointing out what's happening on TV news. So it's not really... So defamation from the media organizations, we've got one from Times, we've got one from Sakal Times. We'd earlier gotten some notices from India TV and all that. But I don't think jail is... Abhi to nahi. Hopefully.
Also, the elitist questions to ask is, will there be AC, non-AC, veg, non-veg? How many people per room? Toilets will be up, down. Where's the flush? What's the system for cleaning yourself? These are little problems which people don't think about, but those are more problematic than the actual idea of going to jail alone. But, whatever.
Okay.
But I think, like she says, clearly it's the fans of Manisha and the Newslaundry network who are more worried because they presume that you are the person who's standing up to authority. When actually it's not exactly that. What you're trying to do is just shine a light on what's happening. Yeah. And am I right, Manisha? Please.
Yeah, for me, I really don't foresee it as... I don't think...
You don't want to be a crusader per se. You just want to be a person who wants to look at things and point out, look, this is unequal, this is not fair, this is wrong.
To be fair, a lot of journalists have gotten into jail just for doing it. So I understand where that fear is coming from. Like Siddiqui Kappan, who was a journalist who was just on his way to Hathras to report on the rape case, just got picked up and got NSA slapped on him. So, I do understand that there's a legitimate reason why people are scared about this, because there are journalists who've been put in jail for no reason, for simply doing their jobs. So everyone is feeling that insecurity. But I think personally, I don't think I have upset anyone so much right now. I haven't upset the establishment so much yet.
Yeah, this is the police and ministry. The checks and balances system has to be worked out differently because it's too easy for the people in charge to just use the machinery, to attack that said journalist or whoever. It
But
becomes
but surely, I mean, the fear is quite legitimate. There are journalists who are in jail for no reason. So
uh,
these happen. The best
fair
example.
enough. The only thing is to keep buffer zones. So we keep Newslaundry in front of us. They keep someone in front of them, and hopefully you get a little warning so you can move to Dhaka, the free and fair part of subcontinent right now, where journalists are free to say what they want till the weekend. Anyway,
Okay, one more.
yeah, one
Uh,
more.
all right. Next one comes in from Vivek Ravi again. He says, AMA for Manisha. What are your thoughts on the 24-hour news cycle? Does it really serve the public?
No, television news, no, it doesn't serve the public. And all, um, it can't also. I mean, if you're supposed to be blabbing for 24 hours, you are going to blab crap. So the whole format is flawed. And I think TV news is just going to die very soon. There's really no sense to it. And what's also happened is that, look, if you have to keep your channel running 24/7, reporting costs a lot of money. So you're not going to keep it running by sending your reporters to Bengal or, sending them to Tamil Nadu or send them into Uttarakhand when the floods happened. You're going to use that time by just getting 4 people on the screen and get them to fight with each other. This is the easier economical way of keeping news running on low costs and get your advertisers. So that model is bound to not serve public interest because it's not even experts anymore, by the way. Most of your television news panelists, their profession is television news panelist. Like, what do? I'm a TV news panelist. Today I'll talk about economy, tomorrow I'll talk about defense, then the other day I'll talk about opposition, then I'll talk about,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a roster of the usual suspects. Yeah,
so it's just the same people just having a drawing room conversation every night.
yeah.
So
True.
Silvery.
So kind of
don't see that
yep.
serving anyone.
So kind of related to that, Aditya Prabhakar says, "Hi Manisha, Newslaundry subscriber here." He says,
Hello.
"For your show, you're required to see a lot of stupid AF news. How do you unwind your brain after all that toxicity?"
Yeah, I try and go on vacations every 3 months and
But that's a
Oh,
good point.
nice.
not
Isn't it a bit too much sometimes just watching negative reporting and you can hate reporting and
it's very toxic. In fact, I could be like a guinea pig for a scientist who wants to know what happens to your brain when you watch too much.
I have
It,
a suggestion.
which is
In between, watch Karan Johar's episodes, Coffee with Karan, where everybody's happy and the biggest problem is, someone falling in love with someone in the elevator and what their reaction is to that. I think that's a nice change.
one thing I have noticed, and I am watching it still from the point of view of critiquing it. So, but imagine that this happens to even me. TV news does make you very angry. It makes you an angry person.
Hmm.
Even I, when I'm watching too much of it, I get irritable, I get angry, and it just
Like it's very
frustrates.
frustrating, right? You get very
It just
frustrated.
frustrates you
Yeah.
exactly. And very few people will then want to maybe log on and see what the issue is really all about and really educate themselves with a detailed article, a balanced article. Most people just consume that. So there's just anger, frustration that you're
Yeah.
consuming in, and then throwing out. That's all.
Right.
And
It's reached a point where the
makes you
headline,
dumb. It definitely makes you very dumb. I've noticed that in myself. I see myself dulling out.
yeah. So what you're saying is that this just the headline is enough. The people are angry. Nobody knows what the issue is. This angry is enough, and we're all angry, and that's it. And even the detail of what the anger is not important after some time.
Yeah.
It's a bit sad, but that's what I really feel. He's like a hypnotist. He's been able to. I won't take names, but he's like Harry Potter grown up. There's some similarities there for sure. And he's just able to conjure up different things, and people listen. They do listen, like the
But there are
Pied
equal
Piper.
number of people who also say listen to a Ravish Kumar. If you look,
Really, you're telling me
so
it's a fair balance?
no. So look, TRPs we can't go by now, as you know, the whole scam and everything. It's a very dubious metric to understand what people really watch, and I think there needs to be more research on it. So what I'm saying is not, foolproof. But if you just look at the YouTube numbers, Ravish Kumar often trends in a way that Arnab doesn't. Arnab's in debates sometimes get very very low numbers, even lower than Newslaundry.
So you're
So
in.
there is a market out there. There is a great, because video is very powerful anyway, right? And there are people out there who do really want to consume good video content. So I don't think everyone just wants to watch crap. I'm very hopeful about the Indian
So
audience.
ending this podcast on a very positive note, I must tell you, yeah, telling us there are more Ravish Kumar supporters and Arnab supporters in India, which I would
Ravish
be
Kumar's
highly cynical
fans
about
are very very hardcore.
in numbers,
Few,
quantity.
In quantity also.
I know quality, yes. You have a quality bunch of people who do follow Ravish Kumar
No,
for sure.
quantity. You look at his YouTube videos. They're very
Yeah.
popular. Very. The numbers.
Each of them very regularly are crossing like 3 million
So the
views
only
per
time I
channel.
did notice that Arnab was beating Ravish, actually, if you compare the two Hindi shows, was around the SSR time. It's true that around that time, he really was getting an audience that
Wow.
was off the
Because
chart.
the storyteller always wins.
Yeah, and then of course it had all the ingredients, right? Like crime, murder, sex,
They'll
Bollywood.
study it one day. They'll study it one day in perspective years later. During the pandemic, this happened in the country called India and how he held sway, like the Pied Piper of Parel.
But people do watch, like, just to end on this, that I do think there's a lot of people out there who want to watch good stuff on video.
All right, Manisha, sorry, but we have to end it here. I have to walk dogs and Silvery has to have a bath. It's early in the morning here in Mumbai. We are 3 hours behind Delhi. But really, great talking to you.
Great.
And
Thank you so much for having
hope
me.
we have you back over some other contentious issues because you're obviously a firebrand and we need some intelligent people on this show, right, Silvery?
Yes, absolutely. Always.
There you go.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
have a good
Thank you so
day.
much.